Cain didn't kill his brother over property or power. He killed him because God preferred Abel's offering over his. And something inside him couldn't survive being second. Psychology has a name for exactly what happened next. Clinicians use the term narcissistic injury to describe the specific, disproportionate rage that follows a perceived blow to someone's self-image. And researchers note it's one of the most consistent predictors of extreme, otherwise unexplainable violence in relationships today. God actually warns Cain directly before it happens. What he says is one of the most overlooked verses in the entire book of Genesis. Cain's rage has a clinical name: 2 offerings, 1 reaction. Genesis 4:3-5, Cain and Abel both bring offerings. God looks favorably on Abel's and not on Cain's. The text doesn't dwell on why. It moves straight to the reaction. Cain was very angry and his face was downcast. Not sad, not reflective, angry, and specifically angry in a way that shows on his face immediately, in public, in front of the one person who just outperformed him. The verse nobody talks about. Genesis 4:6-7, God speaks to Cain directly, before anything happens. Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it. This is the part almost nobody quotes. God doesn't punish Cain for feeling rejected. He warns him, gives him a direct, specific chance to master the feeling before it becomes an action. The anger itself was never the sin. What he did with it was. Modern anger management and clinical psychology draw an almost identical distinction. The emotion itself is neutral information, and the outcome depends entirely on whether the person recognizes it early enough to interrupt the escalation. Genesis 4:7 describes that exact intervention window 3,000 years before it had clinical language. He had the warning, he had the choice named explicitly, and he did it anyway. Narcissistic injury named. What happened in Cain wasn't ordinary jealousy. It was a wound to his sense of being good, being chosen, being enough, and rather than sit with that wound, he moved to eliminate the person who had become evidence of it. Research into narcissistic rage shows it's rarely proportional to the actual offense. The intensity comes from what the perceived slight represents about the person's self-worth, not the size of the event itself. A rejected offering, in Cain's mind, became evidence he was fundamentally not good enough, and that evidence had to be destroyed. Genesis 4:8, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. The text gives no further explanation. It doesn't need one. Everything that led there was already on the page. What the ego costs. Genesis 4:9-10. God asks Cain where his brother is. Cain answers, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Deflection, not remorse. God responds, "Your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground." Even after everything, Cain's first instinct is self-protection, not accountability. This deflection pattern, minimizing or denying responsibility immediately after a harmful act, driven by wounded self-image, is one of the most consistently observed behaviors in modern research on narcissistic injury and its aftermath, appearing across cultures and eras. What now? The very first recorded murder in human history wasn't committed by a monster with no warning. It was committed by an ordinary man, given a direct chance to rule over his own wounded ego, who chose not to. That's a harder story than evil exists. It's, this could be anyone who never learns to sit with rejection. You've now been through all 8 of these: obedience, torment, power, betrayal, love, and rage, each one stripped of the version that gets softened in most retellings. If one of these hit harder than the rest, that's usually the one worth sitting with a little longer.